Rebel Riser right now. But Thor: Love and Thunder, man. I don't really know if you guys are gonna like my review on this one. This movie got a lot of mixed reviews. Me personally, I'm kind of in the middle about it. I'm 50-50. I was close to calling it bad, but this the action and Thor, the character itself, the comedy, the characters in it just kind of kept me there so I can just stay in the middle, not for me calling it bad. I might give it a 7 out of 10, maybe even a 6.5. To me, it was just a lot going on. And again, we talked a little bit about Phase 4 and how it's doing right now in the public. We didn't really move the story forward of Phase 4 at all. After Loki, we thought we were going to get a lot of clues to what's going on next in the MCU and what might happen. You know what I mean? We saw Kang the Conqueror come into the story. We heard about all the different storylines and multiverses that there actually is and that could take place. We saw a little bit of the multiversal stuff in Spider-Man, but in Doctor Strange and with this movie as well, with Thor: Love and Thunder, they were all kind of like standalones. We saw a little continuation of WandaVision in Doctor Strange, but then ultimately nothing really happened as far as breaking more ground in the Phase 4. I mean, we got introduced to America Chavez, but we didn't really move the story forward. We knew Doctor Strange wasn't the Sorcerer Supreme. We did get to see the Illuminati, but they got killed in the multiverse. So I guess that is kind of null and void because it's not going to count because they're probably going to bring the Illuminati back because we know there's going to be a Fantastic Four. So everything that happened in that multiverse didn't matter. So ultimately, yeah, they just saved the universe in that movie, but nothing changed as far as the phases. And this one again was a standalone movie. We just got to see more of, I mean, Gore the God Butcher was dope. He did his thing. His name is fucking Christian Bale. Christian Bale did his thing. He acted his ass off. He was menacing. He was scary. We didn't get to see a lot of his action, a lot of his fighting. To me, I was kind of mad that, again, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie, fast forward. But it'll be a week after, this drops on Friday. You guys should have seen it already. It came out last week. If you're a Marvel head, you should have seen it already. You know what I'm saying? You know what's going on. If you're not, you should have been seeing it, especially. You shouldn't wait till the weekend to see it. Go pop that. Go watch that. Because you got to listen to this for the review. But anyways, on the other side, the backstory of Gore the Butcher was good. The beginning was cool. You felt for Gore the Butcher. But then after that scene where his daughter died and we got to see the gods and how the gods were kind of talking to him, I knew it was going to kind of get a little goofy. They made the gods kind of only care about sex and orgies pretty much and about themselves. I mean, I guess that's how it was probably in Norse mythology, Greek mythology or whatever. But man, I would like to see the gods actually have powers and shit and actually do shit rather than just stand there and just be hella tall and big. I know I like the kaijus and shit, like I said in the last about the last review, but they didn't really do nothing. I mean, we got to see Zeus do some shit, and then we got to see a whole bunch of different gods sitting around. When we actually did get to see Zeus's little arena place, I forgot exactly what it was called. But we did get to see a bunch of different gods. We saw Bao, the little dumpling king. We saw a bunch of shit, but we didn't get to see him actually do anything. You know what I mean? So the action fight scenes that we did get to see were they're cool. Every time we get to see Thor fight, it's pretty dope. We get the lightning, we get his flying effects, we get to see how strong he actually is. Stormbreaker and Mjolnir, those are really cool. We got to see Mjolnir again. Freaking Jane Foster, we got to see her again. Brought her back in the story. I did have a gripe with not being able to see the Guardians for very long. They're in the movie for 10 minutes. They teased this whole thing with them teaming up to be the Asgardians of the Galaxy or whatever. But it turns out they were just in the movie for like 5 minutes. And Thor did all the fighting at the beginning. You know what I'm saying? He took out everybody. You saw Star-Lord do like 2 things, and they had like conversation with Thor. And they dropped his ass off and just took off. You know what I mean? After they saw that Gore the Butcher was out there and almost killed Freya or whatever. I forgot what her name was. I'm forgetting everything right now. But anyways, after he saw she was in trouble, he went out to her and heard about Gore the God Butcher. And they had a funny scene there when she was dying. She was like, "Yeah, I'm going to Valhalla," and she was like, Thor was like, "You have to die in battle to actually go to Valhalla. You actually survive. So your arm might go to Valhalla because it got cut off in battle, but you're not going right now." And she was like, "Damn." But yeah, that was a cool scene. But yeah, it was mostly comedy. Thor, I like the comedy. Taika Waititi, he does a good job with the comedy, but sometimes he does carry it on a little too much. I like the goats at the beginning, the screaming goats, but I watched that shit in IMAX. So hearing those screaming goats 1,017 times, screaming and breaking through glass, screaming, that shit was hella annoying. But it was a fun movie, man. I can't be mad at it. Chris Hemsworth did his thing. It is kind of interesting that Love, Gore the Butcher's daughter at the end was actually Chris Hemsworth. Actually, it was actually his daughter. So yeah, it's interesting that they. I heard a lot of the kids of the actors were in the movie as extras because as you guys know, the kids were kidnapped in the movie, and that was kind of the whole premise. They're trying to um, get the kids back, and Gore the Butcher was just trying to get Thor to get to the kids in the Shadow Realm so he can unlock the gate to eternity with Stormbreaker and the Bifrost and shit like that. But it was cool to see eternity because I was watching. We do those anime kumetes, and we're looking for characters to fight each other. And I did see eternity on the Marvel scale, and he's like one of the most powerful people in the all of Marvel. And obviously he's able to grant wishes to bring people back to life and shit. You got to be pretty powerful to do that shit. But yeah, it's cool to see him actually in the movie. But yeah, if you read the Jane Foster Lady Thor magazine comic book, you kind of knew her storyline. Jane had cancer, and she was called to by Mjolnir to come find her. And in New Asgard, I guess they had a display of Mjolnir from when Hela broke that shit when she caught it, and it was all in little pieces. And we saw a flashback that I guess Thor enchanted Mjolnir to protect Jane no matter what. So while she was dying from chemo, or she's doing chemo, and she was trying to figure out ways that she can get better, Mjolnir called to her. She went to New Asgard, and as she was viewing the whole display of Mjolnir broken to pieces, well, it didn't really show it, but from the previews, we kind of assumed that that's what turned her into Thor. She just kind of shows up in a battle later as Lady Thor with Mjolnir put together. And yeah, and it was a whole reunion scene. I guess they haven't seen each other for 8 years. I kind of guess she was blipped, snapped out of the picture during that whole Thanos saga, because I mean that's probably 5 years right there, and it's been a couple years since they've seen each other. So that whole reunion was cool and all that. We did see Milner do some cool shit, breaks into pieces, come back, kill a bunch of people and shit like that. But shit, man, there's a lot of killing in this movie for kids. There's a lot of kids in the theater. And this movie was obviously made for kids with all the kiddie humor they had in it. They had one thing I didn't like though is towards the end when they had to fight the ultimate bad guy. They had I don't know. They had enchanted Thor enchanted kids with his power temporarily to go out there and fight a whole bunch of like big ass shadow monsters. But the kids ain't never fought a day in their life, which was fucking wild as hell. And for us to believe this is supposed to be a serious ass MCU movie, you're gonna enchant these little ass kids to go fight a battle so you can go fight the big boss. That shit was unbelievable and kind of cheesy at the same time. It had some cheesy humor. Like I said, the goats jumping in screaming was kind of cheesy after a while. I did enjoy it. Was hella funny at the beginning when he did that Van Damme splits to keep the two Striders apart, and he jumps in the air and they go together to blow him up. I did think it was kind of funny, but it was kind of weird. I didn't know his like Mjolnir and Stormbreaker were hella sentient. So the whole trope of him getting Stormbreaker getting jealous whenever he saw Mjolnir and was getting jealous of Jane having Mjolnir and him wanting Mjolnir back. He just Stormbreaker would do something to kind of fuck up his actions or fuck him up in general. I don't know. Stormbreaker's fucking massive, by the way. I don't know how the hell he'd be carrying that around and just having it fly through the air to his hands in in no regard for people's lives at all. He's flying past people's faces, almost cutting it in half and shit like that. That boy don't play. But ultimately, man, it was a cool movie. Towards the end, again, he gets to eternity. Gore ends up getting to where he actually wants to be to make his wish. he wants to kill all gods. That's why he's the God Butcher. That was the ultimate goal in the whole movie, was to kill all gods. So they were trying to stop him from getting there, because if he wishes all gods to be dead, Thor will die, every god will die. We saw Zeus again. Russell Crowe was Zeus, and he did a great job being Zeus. Very funny. He wasn't the super macho Zeus that's portrayed in Norse mythology at all. He was like a more kind of fat, funny Zeus that only cared about orgies. He would talk about orgies a lot. That's why I was kind of interested that it was a kids movie. I don't know if it was rated PG-13. It probably was, because they talked about orgies a couple times and they said shit a bunch of times. So I'm sure it's a PG-13 movie. But yeah, it was interesting, man. Especially that scene where they're killing all the god like bodyguards and they're just showering in their blood. It was kind of weird because it was gold, but you saw Valkyrie just kind of standing there showering and bathing in their blood. It was supposed to be their blood anyways, but it was just a whole bunch of gold juice that splattering with it. Cut them in the neck, cut them in the stomach, and a whole bunch of blood would shoot out, but it was gold. It was weird. And it was weird to me how that they were just slaughtering all these guys, and all the guys are standing around. We're supposed to hella respect Zeus, and they didn't even, step up to do shit. I guess when they saw Thor throw his own thunderbolt through his chest, I guess they didn't want none, I guess. But fuck. Towards the end again, once they reach eternity, he makes his wish. And by the end, I guess Thor convinces him not to kill all gods, because not all gods are bad. I don't know how he changed his mind, but really what he wanted was his daughter back. He wished his daughter would be alive. Excuse me. He wished his daughter would be alive. His daughter came back, and that was the wish, the one wish he did get. You get a wish for reaching eternity, and that's what he wished for. Somehow she got powers. And at the end of the movie, she vowed to take care, Thor vowed to take care of Gore's daughter, and they're partners now, going out there saving the needy together. And she got powers, he got powers. And again, that was his actual daughter that was playing the role of Love, which is Gore, the God Butcher's daughter's name. And yeah, in the end, they ended up fighting together, which was kind of weird. I don't know how she got powers again, but yeah. And it's just crazy because he's the god of thunder and the girl's name is Love. So they kind of told you what the movie was about and what the ending was going to be about with the title, because Love and Thunder, that's when the real story begins. And that's when they let you know that Thor 5 was coming out. Chris Hemsworth said he'll do this movie as long as they'll have him. He's down to do it forever. And these movies are going to keep on selling. I think they made like 348, maybe even $400 million from this opening. So people still love to see the movie. People still love Taika Waititi. So I don't know if he'll be doing number 5, but people still love the movie. And they, 6.5 is good enough for me to go back and see it again. I really like Thor Ragnarok. So, I'm a Thor fan for sure. You know how I feel about the Hulk, and the Hulk was in Ragnarok. So maybe that's why I'm a little biased to that one. But this is definitely not better than Thor Ragnarok. But yeah, you guys can go see it for yourself. I saw it once. I may see it again just so I can get another grasp. So I know it may come out on Disney Plus hella soon, because I know Multiverse of Madness came out hella soon on Disney Plus. But yeah, that was Love and Thunder, long-winded version and kind of sporadic everywhere with it. But if you guys see the movie, come back to this review and listen again, and you know what I'm talking about, because it was a little much, but it was cool. I know if AKA was on here, he probably wouldn't like it too much. I know he probably thought it was funny. It was really inclusive. They had a lot of shouts out to the LGBT community. Valkyrie was a lesbian in there, so she there's some love talk there. She hasn't found who she's been looking for yet. I think her girlfriend actually died in Ragnarok. She got killed in Asgard or something like that. And then they also talked about how was it Korg species? 2 guys go and hold hands over a volcano, and that's how they create their race of babies. 2 males go and hold hands. So yeah, they do a lot. This movie was showed a lot of inclusivity. They cross the lines that really haven't been crossed in Marvel movies before. Speaking of like orgies and stuff like that, Thor was naked a lot. I don't know why. I don't know if his muscles were super enhanced on there, but that fool is super swole. It was hella funny. He had a back tattoo of Loki. I'm gonna get off this movie. I'm not gonna sit here and talk about it forever, but yeah, go see the movie. Just came out, theaters near you, probably playing in every movie theater still.
It's
the best of bias. You need the earful, you should try us. From pop culture to the movies to unite us. It's the best of bias. The best of bias. Yeah, it's the best of bias.
You are now listening to the Best of Bias podcast.